I'm Dan, and this is 10,000 Hours of Indie, a podcast exploring new music and delving deeper into what goes on in the background of the independent music industry. I'm a musician and passionate music lover, and I wanted to delve deeper into new music in the independent scene around the world. I also saw this as a chance to help artists connect and share their stories, so if there's someone you hear and you want to find out more about, every podcast has links in the show description. Get involved, help this community grow, follow on the 10,000 Hours of Indie socials, you can find all the links in the show description. And also feel free to email me about anything music related, 10,000indie@gmail.com. I'm open to any ideas and love listening to your promos. Alum Alu are a nomad folk rock gypsy punk band from Riga, Latvia. I first saw them play at Tallinn Music Week, and they brought a live energy to a cold outdoor show which was exactly what was needed. Starting as a lockdown project, they have spent time in the Latvian charts and are definitely a band worth checking out live too. They just released their latest single, the upbeat tune Heya Heya, in which you can really hear the gypsy punk coming through. I'm chatting with mandolin player Simons and drummer Jakim. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Hi.
Alum Alu roughly translates to English as beer beer. Is that correct?
It's kind of a pun in Latvian. It was Alex's idea when we had our first concert together as a four-piece. In a lot of the kind of Roma, Gypsy, Balkan songs that originally inspired us, they have this kind of refrain that's just like la la la, like Alum Alu, like it's like the similar kind of in a la di da di da, like that kind of general just vocalization. But in Latvian, it means beer for a beer, basically. So it's kind of like it was a pun, basically. Alex just kind of thought it was funny, and we didn't have any better ideas for a name, so it just stuck.
You formed the band during COVID times, originally with Alexis. What was the original plan when you started playing together? Was it just to sort of jam and see where it went, or did you actually have a defined, this is where we want to be with this?
It was mostly, just jamming and seeing where we went. It was during the COVID times. I was working as a chef and all the restaurants were closed, so I didn't really have much to do. Alex also just came back from traveling in France. I'd just come back from traveling in America. And we ended up in Leningrad, the bar we both used to work in one evening. We hadn't spoken to each other in maybe a year or two, or seen each other in a year or two. And I mentioned that I had brought the mandolin back from my parents' place in UK, and Alex was interested in jamming with me on the mandolin, so we just started playing together in the bar, like some folk songs, like gypsy songs, like Buba Mara, like Yani Yani that we now play was one of the first ones as well. We did like one concert that was just Alex and I in the bar, and then Alex invited Kaupo and Boyde, our former drummer and bass player, to join for another concert as like a four-piece band lineup. It just kind of just stuck like that for a while, but it was like the first couple of years was just, we didn't have a plan or anything. We just played concerts every couple of months if there was an opportunity. We didn't really take it that seriously, I guess, until Ellie joined the band in 2022, and then we decided to record an album, and I guess that's when we started to consider it more of like a serious project and more like, okay, we can do bigger shows, we can get invited to festivals, we can do bigger things.
You've all got vastly different backstories in life as well as musical backgrounds. Tell us a bit more about sort of where everybody's come from and been and things, because I read the article that you were interviewed for at the beginning of the year, and it very much says how sort of internationally minded the band are.
I mean, I guess, we all have very, like, different international backgrounds. Like, I grew up in the UK, and so, like, I've been heavily influenced by British folk music as well as just general rock music. I grew up on rock and roll. Alexis also has a wide range of, like, styles that he likes. He's very into, like, North African Sahara music, and as well as the Balkan gypsy music. Ellie and Janis and Egi are like classical Latvian folk musicians, folklorists, and very much play a lot of, like, outside of Alum Alu, sing and play a lot of Baltic and Latvian folk music.
As for me, I'm half American, half Malaysian. I was born in the States, but I grew up in Singapore. I used to play in a metal rap rock group there for several years. I moved to Europe to study music in 2012 to Denmark. Spent 2 years there before discovering Latvian classical music, and decided that I should come to Latvia to learn from the classical music creators here. It's something that drew me to the sound, and but this was 13 years ago. I thought that I was going to be an exchange student here for a year, but I met my wife here, and that turned into 13 years. But for many years, I was in academic music as a composer. I missed playing drums, but then more recently, about 6-7 years ago, I started playing free improvisation music, kind of something like free jazz or free improv, experimental. It challenged me as a drummer to move from, say, rock and metal to something more free form. And I also played in a couple of sort of ambient rock bands here with friends as the drummer, but nothing serious. And then when Ellie invited me to join Alum Alu, I discovered that playing gypsy punk and gypsy rock music was incredibly fun. A lot of energy, a lot of good energy. I mean, when you play like free jazz, the audiences are kind of like sitting down judging you, you know. but with gypsy rock and gypsy punk, it's like there's such a great energy that goes back and forth between. And I discovered I discovered a new joy in playing drums with this group. It's been a privilege to be their drummer.
It's 3 years since the release of your debut self-titled album, and you've released 2 singles this year so far. Does that suggest there may be a second album on the way?
Watch this space. We don't have definite plans for a second album anytime soon. Hopefully next year, towards the end of next year. We're just kind of working through singles at the moment because we have material, but we don't have enough like cohesive material to put as a second album, as a theme. Like the first album, it's 10 Roma Gypsy songs that we did our own versions of, plus then Limonchiki and Krasa Krasa, which in hindsight, I think we kind of regret putting on that album, and we should have done that as a second like single or something because it doesn't really fit with the rest of the album thematically. So we're trying not to make the same mistake again because we have 5 maybe more folk songs. We have 5 or 6 original songs from Alexis, and we have like 3 or 4 covers. But we kind of, if we do a second album, we'd like it to be like a cohesive theme and not just like a random selection of songs. Like we have enough for 3 EPs maybe, but not for a whole second album.
So let's talk about the latest single, Heya Heya, a foot-stomping party song which includes the line, translated into English maybe badly by Google Translate, "Let's smear joy under our armpits." Tell me more about the song.
Smearing joy under our armpits, it's like a saying in Latvian. I don't really know how to describe it. Alex wrote the song, and so he's not here, but he could probably tell better about the lyrics. But he was inspired to write it by, there's a Latvian musician, Imants Daksis, that Alex is a big fan of. I think Ellie and Janis are both big fans of as well. And Alex went to see him play a concert maybe 10 years ago or something and was inspired to write the first few verses from that concert. And then he also took some inspiration from Inns Čergalvis, Space, the former singer of the band Oranžas Brīvdienas, who died last year. He also was a big kind of like inspiration for the writing of the song as well, and also we played with him a few times, and he also quite liked the song, as I understand from Alexis.
You've translated non-Latvian songs and write mostly in Latvian. Was that always the intention, was to stay sort of very much in touch with the country you're in?
Originally, no. Originally, Alexis was singing the songs in the original language, whether that was Serbian or whether that was Hungarian Roma or Serbian Roma. And that's also something I think that attracted Ellie to the band as well. They wanted also to try out singing in other languages and folk music from other countries in different languages as well. But we kind of had the realization after a couple of years as well that like we're mostly playing our concerts in Latvia, and a lot of people here were coming up to us after the concerts and being like, we like the music, but like we don't understand anything what the songs are about. I think a lot of the songs on the first album, that's why we do it like half and half. Like the first like 3 verses are in Latvian, and then after the instrumental break, then the last verse is in the original language. It just kind of evolved naturally as well. There's still some that we're doing in other languages, like Kade Shukar, one of the new songs that we've only just started recording. We were singing that one for the last year or so only in the original language. We didn't have Latvian lyrics, and I think Alexis and Ellie wanted to keep it in the original language, and then I was kind of like pushing, being like, we should maybe try and do a Latvian version. And then I think back literally 2 months ago, on the day that we were recording it in the studio, like we were recording all the instrumental parts, and Ellie was kind of just like sitting in the house we were sleeping in bed because they were sick, and then they came downstairs after a couple of hours and just said, okay, we have Latvian lyrics now. Like, oh, you just wrote some now? And yep, just wrote some now.
Do you take traditional folk songs and turn them into your sort of gypsy punk style, or are these more modern folk songs that you're using?
Bit of both. Some of them, like I said, are completely original songs. We're trying to do a lot more original songs now as well. Most of them are traditional, yes. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head when some of them made, like how recently they are. Like I know Ellere-Pousson, for example, is quite an old song. Then CX Shay, which is we do as Vinny Irte Ista from the first album, that's also quite an old one, traditional as far as I know. The difficulty with dating them is that there's not a lot of written records, especially in the Roma and Gypsy communities in Serbia, Romania and Hungary. So it's not like with a lot of British folk songs, for example, we can say like this was first collected by Cecil Sharp or by Ralph Vaughan Williams in 1840 in this county or something. But there's like with a lot of the Roma songs, there's not such an extensive written record.
I was just wondering if you've run into any copyright issues with any of the songs you've covered at any stage.
We looked into this pretty heavily with the first album, and no, it's as long as it's a traditional, like it's an actual traditional song, like we're not copying another band's version of it or anything like that, then it's traditional material. It's out of copyright. You can do what you want with it, basically.
What's your starting point when writing a song? Because I read your interview with Rhythm Passport, as I mentioned, and it says you're now writing more collectively, and with 7 of you, that sounds challenging.
For most of the material on the first album, Alex just kind of like worked on it himself and decided like, okay, we're going to do like this, and then we would just rehearse it, and then like, okay, I would tweak the mandolin part slightly, or like Calpo would come up with like some random drum fill or something, but mostly it was Alex's stuff on the first album. About a year ago now, at the start of summer, we had a creative camp together. It was before Jakin was in the band, so it was the other 6 of us. We went to this place in Talsi, Corte, where we play a lot and we're good friends with the owners. And we basically spent like 3 or 4 days there, cooking together, sleeping in the same room, like just working on music, just basically just like a band camp kind of like few days. Just spent most of the time just like sitting around the table jamming, and we all tried to bring like one idea to the table. And just we all kind of like sat around the table being like, okay, like discussing like the structure and how we feel it should go, and like, okay, maybe there can be mandolin here, maybe there can be bayans here, for example. And we ended up with 4 songs from that. I think one of them was a traditional song that Ellie brought, one of them was a traditional song that Alex brought, one of them was an original song that Alex was working on already a few years ago and then just kind of gave up because he only thought of a chorus and didn't think of verses, but then we finished that one altogether. So yeah, like that was a very like collaborative process. I mean, it was a new experiment for us as well. There's some other stuff since then as well that Alex has been working on solo, and like I just mentioned, Ellie wrote the lyrics to Kade Shukar like completely solo as well. There's no definitive process for how we do it. It just kind of like happens organically, how it happens, I guess.
Moving on to your social media, you're very active on social media. Chore or something you find easy?
It depends on sometimes, like if we're going on tour, like in April or something, then it's been fairly easy, but then there's just kind of a break when we don't have something to do for a couple of weeks, and then I think, I should probably post something just so we don't lose the algorithm and it stops showing a post to as many people. And then I just think, like, what can I post? And I just kind of like scramble to find something, or I write in the group chat on Telegram being like, I want to post a video in the next day or two. Does anyone have any ideas? Sometimes someone sends something, sometimes not.
I was very amused by your Instagram post about going to the wrong depot. Let me explain this to people from outside the country, because I've played at depot, or the old depot, because it's now moved venues. So when you come into Latvia by road, the first thing you see is a huge hardware store called Depot. And there's several of those dotted across the country, isn't there? It is a chain.
Yeah, there's some, like 8 or 9 just in Riga, I think, yeah.
But I looked across and went, well, that can't be the place we're playing, because A, it's not in the city, and B, it doesn't look very much like a music venue. Obviously, the actual music venue is a vastly different place. I actually had an idea to do that for my social media about 10 years ago and never got to it, so you've beaten me to it.
That was a nice video, actually. Like, I think Alex has had some inspiration because he was visiting Depot, and he kind of made a very low quality selfie video that he sent in the group chat being like, oh, this is good, do you think I could post it? And then Yanis, I think, writes, hang on, we're going to Depot ourselves later. And then he sent that video that he made with Ellie, and they even went to the venue and shot the end of it outside the venue, which was nice education. But yeah, I really liked that video too. But you're also the second person, I think, recently who's told us that we've beaten them to an idea. We have this encore song, Velvi Anu, that we've been playing for the last couple of years. It's one of the ones we finished last year at the creative camp that I mentioned, where it's kind of like Velvi Anu, it's like encore, like one more song in Latvian. So it's like we finish the gig and everyone chants Velvi Anu, and then we come in with the chorus, starts with Velvi Anu, Velvi Anu, Velvi Anu. We're going to play one more song, we're going to have one more drink, like blah, blah, blah. And this was an idea, Alex had this idea a few years ago, and we were playing it all of last year. And then I think towards the end of last year in the old depot, I went with Ellie to see the Bandinikentis Marples play there. And they're one of like the original Latvian punk bands. They've been around for like 30 years or something. And Dambis, their singer, says on stage, like when they came on for the encore, he comes on and says, I had this idea a few years ago that we should have a song where everyone's chanting Valvianu for the encore, and then we come and start playing it like that. And then a few months ago, I came to see Alum Alu play here in Depot, and I realized that I'd sat on that idea for too long and they'd beaten me to it.
So this is a theme you could continue, just being name-checked by bands because you've managed the idea before they got round to it.
Something like that. We'll have to keep on brainstorming.
It's not bad promotion.
They say people don't have ideas, ideas have people.
This is very true, yes. There's a music video for your previous single on YouTube. It's the only music video I can see that you've done, and you seem to have taken the longest song you've ever written and made a music video for that one.
It's two songs kind of hammered together into the video, though. So it's like, well, Ellere-Pousson is the slow version, Neistarami is like the faster version in Latvian. We had a video for Leningradas Pagraba of the first album, but it was very much like Alex's cousin-in-law Alex's niece's husband made the video. But it was mostly just taken out of like old footage that we had over the first few years that we were together as a band, like when we played in Leningrad. It's like a tribute to Leningrad, basically. And we played our first few concerts in there when the bar closed. We wrote the song. And that video is just kind of like a mashup of old concert footage, basically, not like a coherent video. But the Ellere-Pousson video that we shot last year, Ellie had an idea for it. They were inspired by Lacho Drum, a film by Peter Gatliff, the French director. And there's a scene in that film kind of where there's a Roma lady singing a song off the top of a hill over the sleeping town as like the sun comes up and the town wakes up. And Ellie was kind of like inspired by that and thought like, the Wine Hill in Sabile, where we've also played a few times as a band, like we've busked there a few times after the wine festival they have there, that we should film an Ellere-Pousson music video as like the similar kind of thing from the film and like make it as a tribute to that. And then wanted to film a video for Neistarami, not just Ellere-Pousson, because we wanted to have the fast part as well. So we just kind of walked around the town like one afternoon last summer. Ellie and the director and I drove over there, and we just spent the afternoon walking around Sabile, just mentally making notes like, this is a good location, this is a good location. And we wanted to have a video for Heya Heya, still a work in progress because no one has the time, and we've spent a lot of money as a band in the last year on recording and on the first video and everything. But we're working on something for Heya Heya slowly. Like you might notice that we've had these couple of reels that we posted on Instagram. The idea is that we're going to try and make a reel like that for every single verse and then slowly roll them out. And that'll be like a cohesive music video when we stick them all together.
Let's talk about your Tallinn Music Week. Now, I spoke to you last before you played Tallinn Music Week. Then I saw your energy on stage. It was a fantastic show, short, but it fitted really. I actually ended up seeing a couple of other bands on that stage because you had played there that day who I hadn't planned on seeing and were also really good. But how was your sort of Tallinn Music Week / Tallinn experience? Because you didn't just play shows for Tallinn Music Week while you were there, did you? You did another show as well.
Boy, it was a very busy few days for me. Everyone else just kind of like took it as a vacation almost and chilled in the hotel, and I was the one running around for 3 days straight. I don't think I slept for 3 days straight almost. A long weekend. We had to leave very early because we had a sound check on the Thursday at like 1 o'clock or something, and we needed to get our festival passes from the hotel, which was across town already before that. So I think we left Riga at like 6:30 in the morning or something. I picked up everyone from here in my car, and we drove to get to Tallinn for about midday or something. Then it was sound check into our hotel, and then straight away, like that evening, had a networking and conferencing event an hour or so after our sound check, so I ran off straight to there. then in the evenings was trying to check out as many of the other bands as I could. Like we made friends with quite a few of the other bands, like Gaida Banda. I saw you interviewed them as well at Tallinn Music Week. Like we spent a lot of time chatting with them and drinking with them over the few days. They're very nice. Hopefully we can collaborate with them at some point in the future. After we played the outdoor show, we wanted to do another show in Estonia, because rather than just drive up to Tallinn Music Week, and we wanted to try and actually recuperate some of the costs of driving up, for example. And so Ellie found us this show in this underground punk venue called Ulase 12, which is quite well known in the Baltics, in the punk scene. If you imagine the old depot, but kind of a more extreme version of that, if that's even possible. That was an interesting experience. Like we got there in Alex's van after Tallinn Music Week, and there's all these kind of like Estonian teenagers in leather jackets with spiky hair and spiky things on their shoulders, hanging around smoking and drinking in the yard, and like we're pulling up in the car, and I'm looking at Alexis and we're being like, what are we doing here? This is totally not going to be our kind of vibe. There was these couple of like extreme metal grindcore kind of bands playing before us, and everyone moshing and jumping around, and then we go to set up, and obviously we have a mandolin and a violin and an accordion, and all of the kids are looking at each other like, what is this? We made a last minute set list change to like just play all of the kind of like faster and heavier songs and open with the faster, heavier songs, and everyone loved us. It was great. We had like all of the Estonian punk kids were like line dancing to Heya Heya. We played Kade Shokar at like double the speed that we normally do, and like Ellie and I both jumped off the stage into the mosh pit at one point or something. And yeah, that was a fun one, actually. It was one of the more fun shows we've had this year even.
Oh yeah, it was quite a contrast going from the industry showcase to an underground punk place. But the energy that those kids gave back to us was beautiful. It was maybe exactly what we needed at that time, like just to feel again connected to this raw feedback.
Yeah, rather than like the 3 days of like music conferences and networking and industry professionals, and it's like Tallinn Music Week was a lot of fun, but it is an industry event, and there's a high level of like professionalism that's expected there, and it's, I don't want to say very uptight, but it's a very like that kind of like different kind of vibe, rather than just like just a load of kids drinking beer and jumping around.
I mean, yeah, they're music professionals in Italian Music Week. They're industry players, and so they have different expectations and a different way of responding to you, I suppose.
I think you learn something from every one of these shows, and sometimes it's nice to be the standout band on a bill who does something completely different, because you've got to work for your audience, but if you can impress them, then they're going to listen to your stuff a lot more. Yeah,
and as well, like being the only band like on that lineup that wasn't like an extreme metal punk band, then I think we definitely stood out a bit more to everyone else. I mean, I noticed we had a lot of new followers on our social media in the days after, and it was all like loads of Estonian kids following us for a few days. Like,
didn't you say that we sold the most merch at Uslane?
We sold a fair amount of merch. We sold more merch at Uslane than we did at Tallinn Music Week, that's for sure. I think because Ellie and Janis both a few years ago made these like punk style patches like from old fabric that they had, and they just kind of like spray painted on Alum Alu logos on it that they made themselves, and we just had these box of patches that we were selling for like €3 each, and I think we almost sold out of patches at that Uslane show. I said the wrong venue name. Ulase 12, not Uslane.
How do you find the audience's reaction to your music outside of Latvia when obviously lyrics become less important to the songs? Do you feel you really have to try and emphasise the music more when you're playing?
Kind of, yeah. But I've always kind of thought, like I've realised, especially since living in Latvia, and I've had talking with other Latvian musicians and bands that, like, for example, that go to play in Finland a lot or go to play in the Balkans or Poland or whatever, that in countries like Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, even Finland as well, where the language is not very universally spoken, then people are kind of less inclined towards only listening to music that they understand the lyrics of, because there's not as many artists producing music in those languages, for example. So there is a lot more like people that want to listen to stuff that's like outside of their languages. Not saying that people like in British-speaking countries or Germany, for example, don't listen to foreign music, but it's like when there's a bigger market and like a bigger group of artists that are producing music in their native language, I think people are more inclined towards only listening to that rather than in smaller countries.
Personally, I think that even without really, I mean, me myself, I don't really understand most of the lyrics, but it's not a problem because I think the energy translates no matter what language you speak. In this case, it's happy, it's dancing, drinking, joyful music. I think without understanding the lyrics, it's still very much understandable what kind of vibe you're communicating.
You ever been tempted to write anything in English, just one song to slip in?
Tempted, yes, but honestly, I don't really feel it works with Alum Alu. Like, I feel like our thing, like doing the songs mostly in Latvian with a bit of other languages thrown in is more the thing. We have done a couple of songs in English, like as covers in the past. We played for a long time Gypsy for One Day by the French band La Caravan Passe. We still occasionally play that song. We've even recorded it. Maybe it will be out sometime next year. But we kind of got a bit tired of playing it in the last year or so we don't play it so much anymore. Start Wearing Purple by Gogol Bordello is another one that we used to play quite a lot.
One of you can answer this question for the whole length of the band, the other one for only the last sort of 10 months. What's the best gig you've played?
They're all very unique. They're a little bit difficult to compare because, I mean, this spring we visited 4 or 5 cities in Latvia. We went on a small spring tour, and you know, every small town has its own character and its own sort of context. It's rather difficult to compare, but actually, perhaps my very first show with these guys and my very last show with these guys, the most recent one. They were both in Talsi, in this place called Corte, where they have quite a following, and the owner is very hospitable and friendly towards us. And for me to return to the place, which for my memory was my first experience with Alum Alu, it was very meaningful and also really fun. And also, it was nice to be able to play again in a place where, you know, the first time I played there, I barely knew any of the songs, and maybe 10 months later, I could play with a little bit more confidence. And on top of that, the band very graciously allowed me to have my own drum solo now, and which I've played now twice. Well, the first time I played it was a little different, but the second time I played it in this last show, I think I was more confident. I knew what was going to happen. I knew what I was going to do, and I had a blast.
There's a few that I thought of that I could talk about. Like Joaquin was just talking about Talsi and Corte. Like it's always a great experience playing there. I think I can speak for the whole band that it's probably our favorite place to play. Like, we play in Corte at least once a year. The first time that we played there, I think it was just as a 5-piece. It was me, Alex, Ellie, Kaupo, and Boydoy. It was the first time we played there. We hadn't even released the first album yet. It was about a week or two before the album came out. And like from the first, we came on, the first song we opened with was Alum Alu, the intro song from the first album. And from like the first, like as soon as it got going, like everyone in the room was like dancing, and we were walking around the town, and we saw lines of people like moving in the same kind of direction as we were when we were walking back to the venue, and we were joking like, oh, it's all the people coming to our concert, haha, thinking because it's the first time we played there, we weren't expecting that many people, and actually it was people coming to our concert. So yeah, it's Armin's the owner's a great guy as well. Like, always really nice to hang with him. I could say that the first time we played in Estonia was also very nice. That we played at this little festival just outside of Pärnu. It's actually run by Finnish people, the festival. I can't remember what it's called. But that also was a very nice atmosphere, very good energy as well. Lots of people dancing. That was a really enjoyable one. 2 more that I thought of. 2024, we opened for the band Oranžas Brīvdienas here in Latvia. I think I mentioned them before earlier. In Fontaine Palace in Liepāja. That also, like, we didn't know Oranžas that well at that moment. It was before Alex went to India with them. And, like, yeah, that was a very good show. Very fun, crazy after party that we had after as well with them. And then the other one that I think was that sticks in my mind was the last night in Leningrad, when Leningrad closed back in 2022. That was like the venue that we formed the band in, where Alex and I met and used to work. And so that was like, especially for Alex and I, that was like a very kind of like soulful experience. I think being the last band to play in such a legendary place, it meant so much to us.
I see that you've got a gig in July somewhere. That's listed on your Bandcamp page.
We're playing, I think maybe I haven't listed the gigs maybe on bands in town. Maybe I've fallen a bit behind on that. I should get back on that. Yeah, we're playing in Labadaba Festival here in Latvia. We're playing Salda Saule Festival the next weekend, and we're also playing at Monkey Pride Festival on the Saturday of that weekend. It's three very different things. Labadaba is very much like underground, it's probably the biggest underground festival in Latvia. Salda Saule is more of like a pop rock festival, and then Monkey Pride is an extreme metal festival, so it's going to be another one where we're the outliers from the lineup, but it should be fun.
Okay, and otherwise, what can we expect from the band outside of live shows? Is there a plan in place for the next single yet, or are you still working on dates and things?
It's coming together. We don't have a definite date. We are hopefully getting the mix back for the next single within the next couple of days. We have 2 songs that are completely finished and in the mixing process. One of them should be out around end of August, early September, and one of them probably will release around Christmas. Other than that, we're hopefully booking some more studio time in August that we're going to go and finish the other songs that we've started recording.
The last question, what music are you listening to at the moment that people may not be aware of and should take some time to check out?
I've been listening to this shakuhachi guy that, I was here a couple months ago hanging with Jakin and Laura, and we started listening to shakuhachi music because Jakin plays shakuhachi. And he's come up on my shuffle quite a lot of home. Rodrigo Rodriguez, actually. Japanese shakuhachi. He's not Japanese, I think he's Mexican or something. But yeah, he's been quite nice. I've listened to him a lot lately. What else? King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, obviously. Angine de Poitrine, that's the one that Alex and I have both been quite into recently. This viral band with the polka dots, and I'm sure you've seen them somewhere. Otherwise, no, a lot of new Latvian music. Oranges Brivdienas, for example, our friends just put out a new single a few weeks ago that's been played a lot on the playlists.
I haven't been listening to much music, to be honest. Actually, I could say this is a little bit out in left field, but Asha Bhosle died recently. The Indian singer, Asha Bhosle, legendary Indian cinema.
Yes, the English song by Corner Shop, Brimful of Asha, is about them.
Well, I've always loved Asha Bhoshle's voice, and I suppose when I heard the news that she had passed, I went through some of my favorites from her, and then I discovered more treasures that had been buried for some time. I find Indian music incredibly fascinating and complex, rhythmically and melodically. And so maybe that was the last thing I was kind of really into recently, listening to closely.
There's quite a lot of music from Tallinn Music Week that I discovered as well that I've been listening to, like Zetod, the Estonian folk band. I've been listening to a lot of them, actually. And Hannah Leah and the Microsofties, I think, were my favorite discovery from that festival. They're absolutely great. They're like Estonian, Swedish trio. And they have 2 guys that are just playing techno music and club beats and whatever, and then Hannah Leah's playing live violin over it and playing live folk tunes on the violin over techno music, and it's really that's a really cool project that I discovered. We met them at Tallinn Music Week, and they're friends of ours now as well. And Rudolf Stratsanais is another one, Latvian guy that I know, kind of friends with, and Egia showed me his new single a few weeks ago when we were driving back from a concert, and that's been stuck in my head a lot.
That's a lot for people to get their teeth into.
Exactly. We have an Alum Alu party playlist on Spotify that Ellie and I both co-curate, and there's a lot of really awesome music on that as well. So if you go on our Spotify page and scroll down to an artist playlist, there's a Alum Alu party mix. There's something like 1,000 songs on there. It's quite a fun one. So
for people wishing to find out more about Alum Alu, they are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube and Bandcamp. And the band's latest single, Heya Heya, and all other releases can be found on Bandcamp and all streaming platforms. Simons and Jakim, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, Daniel.